So I'm going to begin with a question, and the question is, am I familiar to you in any way? Do I remind any of you of somebody, either physically or energetically? My second grade teacher, did you like her? I loved her. Okay, that's great. Thank you. I need a few more. Yes. Your godmother, do you like her? Okay, good. So we'll just go with two. But here's what's really important about the way it works, is that you walk in the room, you look at me, and you decide, before I ever open my mouth, whether you like what I'm going to say or not. And it has nothing to do with me, I promise you, because I've done this a lot. So I know what this delivers. But it's really about how we associate something in our past with something that's right in front of us and we already know. We filter the world through our senses immediately, and we determine whether someone's going to be okay in our world or not okay. And the filtration process comes from our background. It comes from what we're accustomed to, what we're familiar with, and so on. So out of Purdue University, neuroscience research shows that being excluded from a group triggers the same part of the brain as physiological pain. That's how impactful exclusion is. And so what do we do in order to be included? What are the behaviors that we do so as not to be excluded? Give me three. We assimilate. You have to raise your hand so I can hear you. We assimilate. What else do we do? Yes?
We act agreeable to people that we might not really agree with.
Absolutely. We're agreeable. We don't poke, right? Give me one more thing that we do. Yes, one last thing. Yeah, we'll do things. We'll do stuff for people, right? What impact does that have on your ability to be a great institution? When you really think about it, the dissenting voice is one of the greatest predictors of innovation and team effectiveness, and at the same time, complacency is the greatest predictor of poor organizational performance. And someone's sitting in a meeting and she wants to really tell somebody that the guy is barking up a wrong tree, but there's no way she's going to do that. So how many of you are familiar with this phenomenon? Raise your hand. Okay, great. So that's almost everyone who's brave enough to acknowledge it. This is what happens, especially in a prestigious place like this, is that we're not going to offer a contrary view, a dissenting view, because people say stuff about people like that, right? Here's what people say. You tell me, actually. Just shout out, what do we say about them? Dissenting voice. They're not a team player. What else? They're difficult. They're unprofessional, absolutely.
Just looking for attention.
They're troublemakers. They're looking for attention.
Contrary.
They are contrary.
Defensive.
They're defensive and combative. You all know this one really well. You do. And by the way, I don't think curmudgeon-y is a word, but I just made it a word by adding a Y to it. So here's why one doesn't object. Here are some other reasons. We want to belong and fit in. There's a hierarchy, right? There's a position in the group and a position in the organization. There's also personality dominance. This is another reason, because we have learned to not say things because somebody shuts us down. And by the way, the notion of retribution for a lot of organizations is something that lives over here. I may not have actually ever experienced retribution, but there may be a tale somewhere in the organizational narrative that says that somebody got in trouble for saying something dissenting, and then that becomes part of the narrative, the mythology of an organization. There's also dominant cultural power, personal history. These are the reasons why we don't object. And so then the question is, what can you do? What can you do to encourage the dissenting voice, given that strong pull towards group harmony and belonging?